Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our webinar is beginning. My name is Steve Love, President and CEO of the Dallas-Fort Worth Hospital Council, and we want to thank all of you for being here today for this educational webinar, and it's hosted in coordination with Voyage Technology, an associate member of the council. And it's a great topic today: transfer revenue cycle performance and increase cash, and leverage analytics to guide compliance and AI solutions. This should be a great discussion. We got excellent experts from Voyager Technologies, and they're offering their Navigator analytics tool for free to North Texas hospitals, and there is no integration needed for the existing software. Today's speakers are Chris Gerhardt, co-founder and CEO at Voyager Technology. And I know many of you recognize a very familiar face, Ted Shaw. Ted, as you know, has been in healthcare for a number of years, and he retired from the Texas Hospital Association, where he served as president and CEO of the Texas Hospital Association, and he's serving now as a strategic advisor and principal at Voyager Technologies. We also have with us Gene Lawson, Executive Vice President at Revenue Cycle at Voyager Technologies. A couple of things I did want to announce before we begin, and that is, if you have questions, please put them in the question box. And at the end of the presentation, we're going to make every effort to try to answer those. And certainly, if you have questions along the way, enter them into the box while they're fresh on your mind. With that, it's my privilege and pleasure to now turn this over to our old friend, Ted Shaw. Ted, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Steve, and it's always great to be back with the people I hopefully served well for several years and enjoyed working with Steve a lot. The way I got here is I've been in the industry for over 50 years. Steve was nice enough not to mention that. I in many roles, from partners at CPA firms to CEO and CFO at hospitals, I spent a great deal of my time doing turnarounds, and it was always a major frustration for me that no matter where I went, 40% of the problem was health plans not being paid, not being paid timely, and other things. And I was very aware, and I'm sure you are. If I can get $1 increased reimbursement, that goes right to the bottom line in cash, where even reducing $1 of cost has other implications. You don't really yield a whole dollar of cost. So I've been looking for a solution for trying to basically compete with the insurance companies for 20 or 30 years. And what I found, and I was in selection processes, and for whether it be Epic or Cerner, they're great systems. They have all the data that's inside of it, but they don't either know how, or they don't present it in a fashion that allows the providers to sort through the data and make good decisions. So that's one of the things that I was looking for as a new solution to actually help hospitals improve their cash flow and performance. Along the way, I was lucky. I ran into a guy named Gene Lawson, who you'll hear from in a bit, and worked with Gene at 3 different places, at Jackson and Miami, University of Miami, and then Parkland. And in each of those cases, we were able to improve the net cash flow $100 million a year. And we didn't have the tool. If we would have had the tool, I believe it would have been a lot more, and we would have done it a lot faster. So you go on, Chris. So as I was leaving THA, I was looking for something to help. There was a lot of consternation in the industry because the insurance companies were increasing their denials. Denials were up 65%. And I wanted to help. And as I was talking to my peers around the country and everybody, I got introduced to Voyage, and Voyage's their leadership team, and you'll meet Gene and Chris. And one of the things I was really looking for is I wanted something that didn't have any legacy IT complications, that you could use for whatever system you have, so that it wasn't limited. You didn't have to have Epic, you didn't have to have Cerner or others. So we were doing that. And the other thing in my research in the early days of meeting with Voyage is I found out that what really the insurance companies were doing and the tools that they were deploying using AI and machine language processing, went from the days in the probably late 2000s to where they were basically looking at every a sample of 10% of the claims that were filed or large claims. Well, as they develop their systems, they now look at 100% of your claims when you file them. And if they can find 2 or 3 things in claim A that they can use to process across all 100% of your claims, that's why they were using those for denials. And there's certain things in those denial codes that you need to be aware of when you go in to negotiate contracts. The other thing is I wanted to find some partner that would be willing to fund an investment so the hospitals didn't have to jump in and come up with a bunch of capital, because I know how closely monitored that is. So next one, Chris. So going back to Jane, and I'm going to let Jane take over here. I just wanted to know he is an expert. He's the best revenue cycle person. Assuming I don't know all of you online here, but he's the best revenue cycle person I've ever known. As I said, he could talk about his background and give you some of that. But one of the things about Gene, if you ever heard that comment about you can't ever fix something if you don't measure it, well, Gene measures everything, and he's been successful every time that he's been deployed. So, Gene, are you on?
I think we're having some problems with Gene, just with the technology difficulties. If you could hold on one second here. Hold on. I will try to get him on. Bear with us.
So, what we're about to show you
okay, I've got Gene, so we're going to go low tech. For whatever reason, there's technical difficulties getting him on. Gene, go ahead. I think they'll be able to hear you through my big mic here.
This is Gene Lawson. Can you guys hear me? I'm so sorry. Yeah. I'm having major internet issues.
Can you guys hear him?
Yes, yep. We can.
Okay, great.
Go for it, Gene.
Go for it, Gene.
Okay, so some of the things I want to identify today is all the opportunities that exist all across the country in denials. Doing research, I was astounded at how big it had gotten in the last year. In 2023, there were $262 billion in the first pass denials in healthcare. Now, this is nationwide. But not only do we have $262 billion, that's not million, that's billion. We spent $19 billion in trying to recover that. So what we're trying to explain is the huge opportunity that exists around not only denials management, but how can we continue to work and be successful if denials are going to continue to grow at 20% a year? Yeah. So 50.4% of claim denials, claims are denied initially. Over half of all of our claims are denied initially. And we're only recovering about 50 to 55% of those. Mm. So this is the opportunity that we're hopefully can convey today, that using our technology and analytics can help us do something about this. Not only to help recover denials, but more importantly, in preventing them from occurring in the first place.
Yeah, thank you, Gene. My apologies for the technical difficulty here. If you could just stay on, Gene, as I think I'm going to go, I'll take it from here. So this is always something, you know. So here we go. Yeah, I'm Chris Gerhardt. I'm CEO of Voyage Technologies. I've spent my career, multiple industries, healthcare included, really modernizing technology in various contexts. And really, as we looked at the healthcare industry, what we saw is, and we all know this, that the tech adoption within healthcare is not really at the same rate as you'd find, say, in financial services or some of these other areas. And we're studying that, and we really felt that we needed to come up with some sort of solution that would enable healthcare to do battle with the payers that are using very, very advanced technology. And that's what caused us to create Voyage. Now, it started as and is a company that wants to make investments in providers. Basically, think of Voyage funding the projects, and then only charging on a gain share basis if the ROI actually is returned. So what we're going to go through today, though, it's not really, I'm not here to talk about necessarily that. It's more the tool that we had to create in order to enable that business. As we went from hospital to hospital and said, hey, we're looking to make investments in your rev cycle to invest in taking proven AI solutions and automation solutions. And you guys have no doubt seen these solutions. There's lots of exciting things happening in technology, but we wanted to be able to say, hey, we'll fund that, no risk, we'll put it in. And as we met with people, we have to see where the opportunities are, because there isn't just one solution for, there isn't an AI solution that just magically solves all the problems. There's, solutions for radiology and solutions for very, very specific areas, coding solutions. There's all sorts of different solutions in the claims area. So, but without exception, we were not able to get down to the data that we needed to find. So we said, man, we need a tool that's easy to use, off-the-shelf technology, proven technology that enables us to assess and find opportunities for investment. And then we'll make an investment, prove that it works. There'll be a payback period, and then we rinse and repeat, do it again, do it again, do it again, and really help out. Self-funded digital transformation is what we called it. But even if we do 24 hospitals on a gain share basis, there's still thousands of providers out there that really need to have those analytics for themselves to run the rev cycle. So we built a tool, and that's what I'm going to go over today. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick demo here. Stop sharing. And then I'm going to have to reshare. Find the other window. Okay. Now I'm hoping that everyone will be able to, given the technical glitches we're seeing today, I'm hoping everybody will be able to see this.
Looking good, Chris.
Okay, great. So I'm going to walk you around. This is an overall dashboard here. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of what's under the covers. Now, we needed something where it wouldn't take lots of time for a potential prospect for investment to provide us the data they needed. And we thought the great equalizer is 837, 835 claims data, the stuff coming back from the payers and the stuff that you send out, those EDI forms. And so we built a parser, or able to easily extract that without integrating with any of your native systems. Really wanted to have a light touch. And by getting that data for maybe a year's worth of data, we can parse all of that data and then create a tool. And this is Power BI. Most every hospital has access to this in their Microsoft Office 365 environment. So we thought that would be the best technology to use. So we built this tool. And if you go down here, you can see, in the center here, this particular hospital's Texas hospital. And, they're doing $1 billion in charges, and, should be bringing in $300 million if you add up patient responsibility and the expected amount based on their PCR, the average ratio. Now, this is the actual paid amount, and this is data from the last year, 165 million. So that means there's $90 million against 400 million. They should be getting about 300 million, and they're missing almost 90 million of that from a contracted amount perspective. That's how much is actually, being missed. And then of course, we have another dashboard here. Now the hard work's been done. We can create these views very quickly because we have the underlying data, but this was a view we wanted for just an overview. And so, if you look here, we've got, the CO45. This is I love this CART code, read the contract CART code is what I would call it. It's basically, yeah. Well, that means we have to deploy somebody to look at it. And that's $34 million of the 90 million right there, just in that one. And then, Gene, you wanted to zoom in on a couple of these, I believe. Which one would you like to go to next and have me drill down on?
Well, you're on 16. Let's just do that one.
Okay, let's do 16.
Yeah.
So 16 is the claim or service lacks information submission error. So I'll hand it over to you now. Go ahead.
Okay, so I was a chief revenue officer for about 23, 24 years. And one of the things that used to drive us crazy was looking at all the CART codes coming back on the 835 and not really understanding what they meant. And so this is where some of the magic comes from, is being able to drill down and know, for your facility, what the CART codes are, the leading CART codes as far as denials, and what you can possibly do about it. So, Chris, could you drill down into some examples?
Yeah, so I can drill down into some examples here. Just do a detail report. And this is CO16. This is duplicate. Is that no? That's not 16. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is 16. Okay.
Yeah, the duplicate's okay. 18.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, and of course we can further go by the remark code. But what did you want to see down here, Gene?
Just what's kind of data that we can show. We can do this.
There's payer. Yeah, we could do it by payer. Well, if you want to go down to the high level here, I can show you that. Do you want me to drill down? I was going to cover a couple of the things on the summary side. But,
okay, go ahead and do that then. That's fine.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go up here.
Okay.
Service code. So that enables you to drill down. We could go down even further. But let's go back up to the top before I go down to the service code area. Oh, hold on here. Okay, good. So we did CO16, and then what did you want to see? There's authorizations you wanted to see. That's CO197. How about that one? Yeah.
Yep, that's good.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm sure, as most of you know, denials for no authorization is one of the top denials across the country. There's not a facility in the United States that doesn't have a problem with no authorization denials.
Yeah. And then this was the one that I thought, what is it? CO18. Yeah, CO18 CART code. That is duplicate, exact duplicate. Now, all of this data, guys, is derived right out of the 837, 835 files. We don't even really need anything but having those files shared, and we can see this. So go ahead, Gene, sorry.
Well, one of the opportunities around CO18 duplicate is, in my experience, normally it's a training issue. So in the billing department, they have sent a second claim without changing anything from the first one. And normally they didn't change the bill type. But often what I found in my experience working for multiple hospitals across the country is that the billing staff just hadn't had the right training, nor did we invest in the systematic upgrades to help us know that you can't do that. So sometimes the duplicate, as I said earlier, just because we didn't change the bill code. But after what I found, though, we bill a claim, and the 45 days or so after claim submission, we have not had a response. So the biller would just kick off another claim. Rather than calling and doing a follow-up on why they haven't paid, they send off another claim. That is the worst thing you can do, because the payer will always deny that as a duplicate.
Absolutely. And then just pointing out these I'll pause here a little bit. I mean, it's what's super important. Like everybody's talking about AI, investing in technology. Great. You know, I'm a technologist. That's absolutely true. It's where do you start? You know, is the big thing. Like this is the most important thing. You know, okay, well, CO45, there's 34 million there. That still isn't enough information. I mean, the exact duplicate's better, and authorizations tells you something about the operations. But we really need to go down even further. And as you go around the wheel here, you know, we can see claims by code, you know, we can see the claims by provider, the amount lost by code, and then all down here on the right side, you've got, okay, who are the biggest offenders? Where are we getting most of the denials from? Those are super important things to have. Now, this is super high level, so it's useful. It's better than anecdotally knowing that you have a bad player, but let's drill down to just show the power of the tool here. So if I want to, this is all of the claims. So it's basically a repeat of the numbers on the previous, but at the next level of detail. But if I punch in, I don't know, let's look at like cardiology and say, okay, well, I want to look at the cardiology claims. Okay. And these are some of the things we're looking for opportunities. So we do our own calculations based on the underlying data in the 837, 835 to say, hey, wait, let's see, let's look at outpatient. That might be a good place to start. Let's see here. Oh, hold on. Teams is giving me a little bit of a trouble here. Okay, so I want to do outpatient. There we go. So just to see that, you know, the first pass denial rates and everything, but let's not miss the big picture. Next level of detail here is we had 46 million in charges. Expected amount was 13, and we're only getting about 5 in cardiology. So that, I don't know how that compares to the other departments, but that's important to know. And then we can look at, I'm just, you know, giving a tour. So let's go here. Let's say I want to look at, I don't know, radiology. Let's try and type right. Radiology, I can spell. Radiology diagnostic. What's going on here? That looks like a big opportunity. You know, 11 million expected. We're only getting about, you know, 3-ish out of that. So we probably want to double click there. So, and this is where, you know, having the analytics, having the headlights on the car so you're not driving blind, right? So we can see what's going on. Let's go down and, you know, look at where we're getting a lot of denials. Of course, I can also sort by payer, but I'll just grab something just to show the power of the tool here. Okay, we've got 150, 200 claims, 100% first pass denial rate over here, right? And this is radiology, diagnostic, general. So I'm going to highlight that, and I'm just going to drill down further, right? And now I can drill down, see what's going on here, see my paid amounts. You know, I'm getting some first pass, so there's some friction there. It's getting kicked back. We're taking care of it. You know, either that your outsourcer or collections firm is taking care of it, or you're doing it internally. So we can kind of scan through that. If I want to just grab, I don't know, one that wasn't paid, you know, let's look at, I don't know, $9,000 here. Let's grab this one. View the details on the claim. There we go. Boom. That comes up. We lost $3,000 on this one. I can see, you know, some of the coordinates on it so I can do further research, see if there's a people, process, or technology problem, or all of the above. But our premise here is we had to have this tool for our business to make the investments, to know where to make the investments, so that we'd have the biggest bang for the buck. And also, since we wanted to run it on a you know, mutual success basis, you have to be able to measure the effect of the interventions that you make to show that it's really going, you know, really working. I don't know if you wanted to say anything on that. You know,
Yeah,
Gene?
this, well,
Yeah,
this
Ted,
wanted to say something. And,
okay,
and
you can.
this is where, you know, I see the real value of the tool is just think about that quarterly meeting with the insurer where they're, you know, talking about all the things you're doing wrong. And you can take it down with this tool and show, here's what you've done to me in these areas on this specific claim. And you can actually argue back when you never had that data before.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big part of it. Gene.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I
Gene.
think one of the biggest opportunities when you are dealing with this number of denials, and remember my last year at Beth Israel Health in Boston, I had $185 million in 1 year in first pass denials. So when you're overwhelmed with that kind of volume and that much money involved, where do you begin? And so we had to come up with a strategy to divide and conquer. And I did not have a tool like this. I was on Epic, and Epic had some pretty good basic reports, but it could not give the specificity that we were looking for as far as how to divide and conquer. So what this will enable us to do is through the analysis to decide what makes sense to outsource and what makes sense to work internally and how many teams you may need to be able to do it. And so the whole idea was to not to lose any more money than we had to, because $180 million in first pass analysis is staggering. And we were probably about 18 billion in gross revenue. So it was big. And so what this kind of data, I wish I'd had this then. And, for about 3 years when I was at Beth Israel Lady Health, we were the #1 revenue cycle in all of Epic, but the money we spent to recover it, because we just did not have the drill down capability that we have with our Navigator and Voyage.
Yeah. And so, just kind of put a cap on this. Like I said, we're still moving forward on the, looking for investment opportunities with hospitals to make investments in proven technology. This tool is what we want to, what we're using for those purposes. But while we're in the middle of that, we're thinking, we really should provide this tool free to use. And wouldn't it be great if people could just basically download this tool and start using it? And we can do better battle with the payers. Information's power. And so, we wanted to be able to, measure, be able to have the same access to analytics, because all of these technologies around AI presuppose that you've got good analytics, so that you know where to invest first, and you can actually be measuring the results. And the behavior on the payer is going to change. You do a countermeasure, they're going to do a countermeasure. So but and I'll go back to this. The hard part was getting the parsing and fundamental, the plumbing done from a technology perspective, so that we can create these views. To create bespoke views for a given provider in a given hospital or clinic or whatever, those views are actually fairly quick. We can develop those pretty quickly. So, I think it's super important that we arm the providers with the same technologies. That's what Voyage is about, the same technologies the payers are using. But even short of that, having the analytics is the best starting point. So,
and Chris, if I could intervene,
yeah, please.
Another great benefit of the Navigator, many of the denials, if you really want to get to a root cause or to prevent them from occurring in the future, it's not just a revenue cycle or a finance issue, it's the organization. It's being able to take this data back to the administration over the facility and elicit their help in changing process, behavior, procedures, et cetera, to really stop many of these denials from occurring in the first place.
Yeah. And so what we want to do is find some providers to be part of the beta program. Now, this tool was built for us. It's not, it was for our purposes. That's where we came up with the views that we needed to come up with. But we'd like to work with some select providers, develop and enhance the product and get it ready for maybe broad availability. And our full intent is at no cost. Not just no cost to participate in the beta program, but we want to get to a place where it's no cost for any provider to just download the tool and begin using it. So next slide. So what do you need to be part of the beta program? Well, we need the payer contracts. So what I showed you in the demo, we didn't really need to have all of the contracts modeled. to get the exact amount. Need to be directionally correct, but we would like to model the contract so that the expected amount isn't just based on an average PCR, but it's actually what the contract says. And the tool can do that right now, but we need to know what those payer contracts are so that we can model them. And that means we can do, instead of doing samplings periodically of claims to ensure compliance with the contract, let's make sure that we in real time can look at every claim and tell whether the payment that comes back is in compliance with the contract. And
eventually, Chris,
yeah,
get in front of it so that no bill goes out without having been run through that same screen.
Yes. And so this is where the technology investment comes in, because we really want to get to where I mean, look, there's all sorts of dashboards and things that we can do. There's all sorts of technologies that are available. But having the analytics is the prerequisite, right? And once you have that, then we could say, oh, we see a common problem. There might be a process change that's made or some training, might be some easier ways to fix these things to preventing the claim from going out and being denied, gets us off that merry-go-round that we're on, where all the claims come back and there's too many to process, so we have to sort them, and then you only go after a certain amount, and we just sort them based on the amount, and the cruel math kicks in of it's too expensive to chase this one down because the people cost more to do it than what you're going to get out of it. So yeah, I mean, it's really finding out why the claims are denied, and then coming up with people, process, or technology, and certainly technology to solve those problems. But this is the starting point, and we want at the end of the day, if you're part of the beta program, we're going to model your contracts. You're going to be able to look at real-time compliance. You're going to be able to meet with those payers and say, hey, we know that we were underpaid, not just denials. We were underpaid. This isn't according to contract. Real-time audit is needed. We have not seen a solution that is good for healthcare for that, and we don't want to charge for it long-term. So we need your help in forming this product into something that really, really is ready for wide distribution in the industry, so we can do battle with the payers.
Another aspect when you talk about battling with the payers, in most states there's a interest penalty if a commercial insurer doesn't pay within so many days of filing. And often be surprised at how many facilities don't take advantage of that because they have difficulty in tracking how long it takes a commercial payer to actually make a payment or process a claim. So this is something that we could definitely help with, and you'll be surprised that how much money's been left on the table.
Yeah, so if you're interested, please reach out. If you want to be part of the program, you don't have to be a minimum size, large hospital network, clinic, reach out. We're looking for different types of organizations so that when we make this product available, it meets the broadest set of customers' needs, of providers' needs. And maybe we can make a dent in this crazy world of claims processing and the arms race that we're in with the payers. They're all armed with AI and ML, and we want to help you get there too.
And I would tell you that just having a payer scorecard, which the navigator can produce for you, is something we didn't have in the past. And and we'd encourage Steve and THA to pull it all together to have a statewide scorecard, but that's obviously programmatic because of the interaction between all the competitive forces. But this is data I would love to have had when I was running a hospital.
Yeah, you could do benchmarking. How are we doing? Compare. Yeah, there's limitations there, and what you can share, what you can't. Yeah, I mean, in this tool, there's no PII, there's no PHI. Yeah, I mean, no, they're all de-identified data, of course. I should point that out. But yeah, are there some questions? We could probably go through the questions.
Yeah, thank you all. This is Steve. There is one question that, and I've got several others people have sent, but it's a basic question. Appreciate the presentation, but could you please explain what you mean by assumed rates?
Oh, yeah, please. I should have spent a little bit more time on that. So it goes to contract modeling. So in order to do the actual contract modeling, you have to understand when we're building the tool, we're doing a quick assessment of based on 835, 837 data. And what we'll ask the potential provider that we're looking for the investment program, what's your PCR rate overall? Are you getting 25%, 30% of charge amount? I mean, what are those? So we're not doing detailed contract modeling. And so what you see right there, that's very light touch. You've provide the data. We can get that right away. I mean, we can get that level of analytics. The next level, and really I think the important level, is to take the actual contracts of, say, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and model those contracts so that every individual claim, we're looking at it and saying, okay, for this claim, this is the negotiated rate. So that you maybe saw those sliders on the left side in that summary page. I can change the PCR rate, and that just applies the average to, like, what should we be getting overall of our charge amount? And that's so it's an approximate view. But we have absolutely the ability with an individual provider to model those contracts so that you can, in batch or real time, when that 835 comes back, basically look at it and say, oh, that isn't according to contract. They're underpaying us. Not just denials, or if they deny it, that usually leads to, why did they deny it? What was the RART code? That might require investigation. But on the underpayments, absolutely, we could, it's a compliance tool then, right? And then we could, as Ted said, create a dashboard, a payer dashboard that says, hey, you're underpaying us. You underpaid us $3 million last month, right? According to contract. And here's all of the data to prove that, right? You show that, like Ted was saying, you show that to a payer and they know you have the information, their behavior is going to change. I guarantee you, right? So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, and here's another question. Are you able to analyze trends over time based on what payers have or have not paid?
We would have to come up with those views. So please join the beta program. And I would love to. This is exactly why we need beta users, is because those sorts of questions, that's what we want to mine. And we want to say, okay, boy, yeah, let's come up with a over time view, because we can absolutely do that. We have the data service, we have the date when they're being, so we can look at all of that. We can look at prompt payment, we might need all of that.
And you could order, or you could enter more than 1 year's worth of data.
Yeah, we could put in more than 1 year's worth of data. This is all off-the-shelf tech as far as the platform is concerned. I mean, we built the underlying data structure and we have our data science team working on it.
But Chris, in the short term, if you think of an age trial balance, we could create one just for denials, and so you can see how quickly some denials by CART code are being resolved and which ones are continuing to age because they're not being resolved.
So yeah, this is why we want to have a beta program, and we want to, have some select folks involved to help us form this clay into something that's really powerful as a, it's not going to be the final version, but before we make it available to everyone, we want to make sure that the views that, like, there may be a different set of views if you're running a clinic versus a hospital. There certainly would be, right? There's different needs, right? So we want that input. And I should say, we're very mindful that everybody is busy. The whole reason we took this approach is we want to have very, very light touch. So as part of the beta program, we'll work with you around your schedule. You'll be the professor, not, you'll be writing the tests and grading the tests, not taking them. so studying for it, we'll come back to you and say, is this what you're looking at? Yeah, this is what I want. This is the question I have. We'll turn that around and say, is this what you're looking at? Is this good? And then you would say, yeah, I like that view. And then that tells us a lot. If it's valuable for you, it's probably valuable for others, right? In managing the claims.
Here's another question that just came in. Contract modeling varies from hospital to hospital. You have different carriers. In your opinion, is there a unified approach for contract modeling to deal with these different variances?
I'm actually talking with our data science. That's a big topic with our data science team. We believe that there is. We haven't built it. So the way we do it right now is we meet you where you are. But if you look at like by payer, so Blue Cross Blue Shield in Texas, we're seeing that those contracts look pretty much the same everywhere. So we start with a contract and then we put it into, we have the lookup tables, all of that complexity, the spreadsheets that almost everybody has. That's in the system. And then we just apply it. But one of the things we'd really love to build, this may not be required before we release the product. We might just have those sliders, just so people can start seeing the data. But if we can solve that problem and come up with an intermediary format or a standard format for contract modeling, that would be amazing. And we think it's doable, but we need to see more contracts. We need to see how they're structured so that we could maybe come up with a standard form that could just be filled out by a provider and wouldn't require us to be involved. Like you could just download that and then there'd be a template that you would just take your contract and fill it out. And then the system would work. That's our idea around it, but it's still early days in the product. You're seeing an alpha, as they say in the business, an alpha product, and we want to go through the beta program so that it's a beta product, and then you launch an initial version 1, and then it will just get better and better and better from there. We'll just do version after version.
And Chris, a Blue Cross example is that the contract itself most of the time is very similar.
Yeah, we've seen it almost identical. The terms are different, but the structure is the same, and we're able to put that in. And then a lot of the contracts are pretty much the same. They're a lookup, a fee lookup, maybe maybe some stop losses in there, but we're seeing patterns, and we do believe that we can come up with a standard model that could be self-serviced. We might even use AI to read the contract and extract the rules. That's one of the things that we're looking at as well, where there's no manual intervention. That's future release way out there. But if we could do that, where you just upload the contract and AI reads the contract and then basically does the modeling, because it is fairly rudimentary. And I shouldn't say rudimentary. There's a lot to do, but now it's not like a bunch of the questions are really complex. It's just a bunch of little questions that you have to answer. What does the contract say? You know what I mean? Like, what does it mean? How should we interpret that?
Right.
Yeah.
Here's another question. How did you map the 837s to the 835s to account for duplicates and resubmissions?
Yeah, well, I didn't have a chance to really go into that, but we look at, for a claim number, it comes back in the 835. You'll have the same claim number, and there'll be like a -2, -3, -4 for every resubmission. So that's one of the ways we calculate, like when we look at a claim and it has more than one with the same number, there's usually a dash after it in the 837. That's the one that's submitted. We'll say, oh, this is a resubmission of one that's already there. That's how we know. And then you may have, I just raced by it, but we said, like, what percentage failed on the first attempt? That's how we know, because we basically just take all of the claims, and if they're resubmissions, you would have 100%, like you'd have a certain percentage that failed and then were resubmitted but ultimately paid. And we also have metrics in there of like, okay, are there examples where they did all the resubmissions and then, nothing was paid? Like that's in there as well. So that's how we do it. It's basically all off the claim number.
If you remember in the Navigator,
yeah,
in the data, it also shows you the original submission date.
Yeah.
And then if there is a resubmission, it gives you the date that was done. And remember, we saw some for the hospital that we built this around 7, 8, 9 times resubmission without changing any data on any claim.
Yeah, duplicates over and over and over again. We saw ones where, and this is the thing where if you're part of the beta program, we haven't built this yet, but now we have the database. We could probably start doing things where it's more ad hoc reporting, where you could say, show me all of the claims where we missed the deadline. You know what I mean? Like we didn't submit it in time based on the date and service. I want to see how often we're missing that. That data is in there, right? You know, like that you're only seeing a real tip of the iceberg of what is possible because we have all of the data and it's accessible and you don't have to pay gazillions of dollars and have a bunch of priests of technology, you know, mediating for you to actually, so what, can I have this report, please? And then it costs you this much money. And, you know, I mean, we're looking to have self-service, basically literally a tool that you could download from Microsoft Marketplace, Power BI Marketplace, put it in your environment, light it up, and it works. Right? That's what we want. And we want to absolutely make that free. Right? We feel like that's what's needed. Go ahead.
Great. Another question. Once you identify a denial, do you have the capability with this tool to create a template letter to forward to the payer for payment?
Yeah, that's actually one of the solutions that in the side of the business where we deploy solutions. That's one of the AI solutions that is actually, there is a proven solution out there for that we've talked with folks about, that we looked at funding, right? Of funding solutions that can do that. But that is not in this tool. No. Maybe that would be a later release. But certainly you could get the data necessary, and then AI does, could do that. If I have all the underlying data that goes into it, I know why it was denied, or I know that it shouldn't have been denied. Setting up an automation so that you basically take that claim and issue a letter automatically, that would be a good solution, right? But I think that's evidence of there's so many targets, there's so many things that we could do to improve. Having the analytics so you can say, let's go after the big game first, right? Where can we make the minimum amount of investment? In our case, if you're part of our investment program, 0 would be great, no investment, and get the maximum gain, right? That's what the analytics is about.
I think the type of denial will have a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
I think in case where it's denied for not medically necessary, most of that data that we used to use, because I used to have case management, is from the notes on the history and physical.
Yeah.
We could almost copy that and almost come up with a already written an appeal. Now, if a denial for no authorization, that's not going to be overturned from what you have in your history and physical. But there are opportunities based on what the denial is for to have the appeal there almost generated through AI.
Yeah, and see, these ideas are great in questions. Once again, just bringing it home. Being able to slice and dice the data, ask these questions. Wow, I found one solution for this whole batch of things that keeps repeating and having problems. We need to get this. What we're about really is moving organizations to a place where we know it's going to be denied before it's submitted, right? So we prevent the denial, because that's really the way to win the game, is to, we're not really here to say, like, there's a lot of contingency-based businesses out there that, certainly when you do a look back, go back and collect after the fact. We really want to use technology going forward so that the denial doesn't happen in the first place. And like I said, we can get off the merry-go-round, right? Because believe me, the payers understand this. They understand that we are largely a manual system, and we're overwhelmed with too many denials. It's impossible to manage.
And usually under-resourced.
Under-resourced, yeah. And if human beings have to look at it, you're going to say, it's below 1,000. Can't do anything about it. So
here's another question. As you look at your data, have you gleaned any other valuable information other than denials?
I mentioned underpayments. That's about as we can do that with that. But I'll hand the mic over to the experts in RevCycle. I'm a technology guy, so.
Well, there's underpayments. There's also, as I mentioned earlier, the interest on them not processing claims timely. But also understanding, if you take something as simple as a no auth denial, it's not always so simple. So one of the most common no-auth denials that I used to receive were for multiple surgeries on the procedures on the same patient. So we went back to scheduling, and we found that, let's say in orthopedic surgery, an average knee replacement is going to have at least 3 CPT codes. We were scheduling 1. So we went back and did the analysis per orthopedic surgeon. How many CPT codes do they normally do on a knee replacement? And we built the template in scheduling. So we started asking for those CPTs and getting auths for all 3 or 4 that physician normally did. I could not have done that without this data.
Yeah. And this is another area we haven't done as much. I mean, there are some correlations we can look for in the data using advanced AI ML tools to look for patterns. It's very valuable data. I mean, it has the prescriptions, it has the, you know, I mean, like it has, the only thing it's missing really is the clinical data, right? When I say that, you know, like the notes and the, you know, the stuff that's, you know, that sort of thing. It's got all the claims data and everything that was done, all the procedures, all of that. So it's very valuable to have access to it. And most providers do, right? They have the 837, 835s, but it's all locked up. We want to democratize it. You know, it's data you own. You should be able to use it, right?
Right. So let me ask you another question. You guys are really generating questions here. Do you provide solutions to automate resubmissions when you determine there's an underpayment?
Well, this is on the gain share side of the business. And that would be a potential funded solution that we would fund on the gain share side of the business. Where
Explain what you mean by that, Chris.
Okay, so remember, we built this tool because what we want to do is take third-party investment. Everybody knows there's a lot of upside here as far as ROI on technology projects. The problem is the execution of those technology projects. I don't have to tell anybody on the call that's been through a technology project that they fail often to deliver on the ROI. It takes a long time. You don't necessarily have the resources to do it. Our whole gain share business was let us come in, look at opportunities, take the best solutions that are out there, fund the implementation of the solution. If it doesn't deliver the ROI, you pay nothing, right? But there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different solutions that are proven, that work very well. You know, there's Waystar solutions that are very expensive and can produce a lot of value. There's case management solutions out there. There's coding, AI ML coding solutions that are out there that are proven, but they all cost a lot of money and they're all very risky to implement. So we felt that's where we play in the gain share business.
The first thing we could do with Navigator, as far as this question goes, is to be able to come up with a list by payer, by CPT code, those that are underpaid, and then ask that payer to meet with us, and send them the report and said, in the last 6 months, you have underpaid us $500,000 in orthopedic surgeries for knee replacements, and have all the detail. That's awful hard for them to deny when they're
the other scenario thanks for jumping in there. The other scenario we thought about is you take some samples. Let's say they've denied 1,000 claims, for erroneous reason, and we take 6 or 7 of them and say, hey, we know that these are improperly denied. And they say, okay, yeah, they're improperly denied. And then you go, okay, well, I got 1,000 of them for the same reason. So let's start the negotiation at 125% of pay, right? Like, because you're committing fraud, right?
Well, it's a good answer, Chris, but typically the payer's system may be set up incorrectly. That's why they're erroneously underpaying.
Yeah.
And plus the adjudicator on the payer side probably doesn't have the authority to make a change. And that's why I would advocate for meet with the VP of your payer and discuss those problems directly with that type of leadership.
Yeah. So, I think shining the light on it is the way to go. If you can't tell, I get a little exuberant about doing battle with the payers. So maybe I'm a little hyperbolic at times.
Well, it's fun.
We're down
because
to
it's mostly because of what I've seen, and maybe you guys have a lot more experience than I do in this, but these last few years, what I've seen is just makes me sick. We really want to do good here, right?
We're down to about 5 minutes, and I've got 3 quick questions that I think you'll want to answer.
Okay.
If I commit to a beta of the Navigator, what is the time commitment on my part?
Okay, so time commitment, it'd be, it might be regular meeting, light touch. So it'd be a few hours here or there. So we have one beta customer right now, and it's we might have an hour meeting every couple of weeks to kind of review progress, maybe some questions that go back and forth online for clarification around the contracts. There may be some questions we have around the data that we have to chase down, but we go off and work. It's not going to take a lot of time. We try to keep a very light touch. And then the period of the beta, at least 90 days. We'd like to, obviously we'd like you to continue using the tool going forward as we build it. But, I would say at least 90 days as part of the beta. And then we'll have a very light touch. We'll work with your schedule.
And that's assuming, the one hands-on thing is we'll need from the IT department, the 835, 837.
Yeah, that usually takes very little time. That usually the follow-up is, hey, we have a question on contracts. We need to talk with a contracts person, how to interpret it. That's happened, but that's, I would say with our current beta customer over the last 3 months, what we've met with, just a few hours, over the last 3 months. But it depends on, like once we start speccing out new views and those sorts of things, I mean, we'd love to engage deeper, but mostly we just need, hey, yeah, we love this tool. Can you change this? Couldn't you just do this? Could you add this piece of information? We just need your critique, right? And then questions and answers. We're not really asking for IT. We're not looking to integrate with your other systems unless there's some data that we need to do that for prompt payment. We might need to know when the payments are coming in, actually hitting, coming into the organization to do prompt payment.
Right. I think you answered this question, Chris.
Yeah.
It said, is there a minimum term commitment to the beta program? And I heard 90 days.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, look, we're asking for your help here in building this product. We think there's a lot of advantages. We think it'll take about 90 days for us to model your contracts so that we can get to a point where you honestly can see underpayments, contract compliance in real time. If we're getting the value, then we're producing the value. If we're not producing the value after 90 days, we're not gonna, we're not asking for you to pay anything.
Right.
We just need your time. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's kind of the final question, and we've had a lot of great questions today. If I decide to proceed with the beta, from the time we begin the beta, how long will it take until I see the types of analytics you shared with us today?
I would say that's no more than 3 or 4 weeks clock time. I mean, okay, you say we want to sign up. We've got to sign the BAA NDA. That takes some time. And then we need the 835, 837s. And then it takes our data science team a little while to interpret all of the data and make sure that we understand exactly what the department and revenue codes. There'll be some questions, and that whole process might take no more than a month, and sometimes as little as 2 weeks.
Well, that kind of concludes. We're right at an hour, but Chris, Daniel, and Ted, we can't thank you enough. What a fun-filled hour of some good information. And I'll turn it back over to you, Ted, Chris, and Daniel, if y'all have any closing comments before we conclude the webinar.
No, thank you, and I'll make a comment and leave it to Chris to conclude. But this is Ted, by the way. I really believe that this is an opportunity for hospitals to catch up to find a tool that they can use to compete with. And as Gene and I did together, I think you can do with this tool what it took us several years to do. So with that, Chris?
Gene, did you have anything you wanted to add? I mean, you guys
No,
are
just
the front line.
just what the bank off what Ted was saying. I'd give it anything if I had a tool like this one with the University of Miami or University of Washington in Seattle, but especially Beth Israel in Boston. We spend a fortune and a lot of time, and this will help in all those categories.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of fun. It leads to so many questions as you look through the data, like what's going on here. Good questions, good conversation around that I think will produce fruit once you have the analytics. You can't manage what you're not measuring, and we really, we're not aware of any other tool that enables you to, in one system without major sort of implementation costs or major software costs, slice and dice the 837, 835 data the way that the Navigator does. And it's not even, it's just a version, .1, right? We aren't even at a full version yet.
Well, one of the things that Ted and I used to joke about is that if you've been in one revenue cycle, you've seen one revenue cycle, because the hospital providers' issues are so individualistic. And this is the tool that breaks down the issues by what you're seeing, what your institution is facing against your payers and your contracts.
Yeah,
that's an excellent point.
Or Steve, I was going to ask Chris to comment. If somebody wants to move forward, how do they do that?
I'm sorry. I had that. Let me share my screen again. I don't know why it dropped off.
While he's doing that, just so you know, Chris Wilson is going to send out, with y'all's permission, the PowerPoint that was shared today that has your contact information. And also to all the people that registered, they will get a recorded copy of this webinar as well. Sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's quite all right. No, just send an email. You can send an email to me, Chris at voyagercm.com, Dan Brown, Daniel, voyagercm.com, or both. It's nothing formal. We'll engage in a conversation, find out what's going on. We care about this deeply, and we want to partner with you to get some weapons in your hands that really do some good.
Well, on behalf of the Dallas-Fort Worth Hospital Council, Chris, Daniel, and Ted, we can't thank you enough for a very professional presentation today. Excellent feedback from our participants with great questions. So at this point, we're going to conclude the webinar, and we wish everyone a very safe and happy rest of the day. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Steve.
Thanks.